What's up, guys? It's John with National Sports Entertainment, and for everybody watching on Patreon, I'm going to make this just one big video, if that's alright. I've gone into in my last couple videos, been just running ragged and back and forth to the hospital, things like that, and just very, very exhausted. I didn't really get a chance to enjoy today's games, but I wanted to cover tomorrow's games, which I usually wind up putting on YouTube anyway. I usually go over our nightly recap first. For sake of simplicity, I figured I'd go into the games. We don't have many plays tomorrow anyway, and we very close to broke even today over all of our plays. As far as football, I have to say, it's just another case of we're usually way off the target or dangerously over the target, and I do believe we nailed so far this divisional weekend. And again, the Packers Lions one. This one was a great one because most people on my Discord, I played it. I know a lot of other people played it. We obviously had Green Bay covering. We knew the Niners were going to win. So when the Niners were getting 250, 260, like plus 250, plus 260, many people jumped on that as it was. I call it a super hedge because it was pretty obvious in my opinion. To me, that kick looked a little bit like David Blaine might have been in the audience. I don't know. It looked true. And then once I saw it setting up perfectly, it seemed to make sense. So we did well. And I want to go into each game. And then, again, this Bucs Lions one has me very, very conflicted. Even up till now, I'm wondering about changing my mind, but I'm pretty sure I made it up finally. Chiefs Bills not as hard. Ravens Texans. Well, C.J. Stroud joined his Savior Jesus Christ on that crucifix. It's a shame, but that's just how it goes. Had he come out and attributed the transgender movement of America or anything else that might not have been something against their narrative, then of course they would have been fine with it. If he came out and gave the flying spaghetti monster some props, or if he attributed his winnings and his hard work to Satan himself, that probably would have guaranteed him a Super Bowl spot. But when NBC is changing the quotes and then they get flack over it, you better believe that this rookie is going to be humbled by the NFL elitist. I know some people thought I was kidding when I said his crime would not go unpunished. Again, I don't think it's a crime, but you have to know which league you're playing in. These people invented Mickey Mouse, and as we know, Disney is just pure evil, and they're going to do whatever they want. So, and not to mention, all the money was going to be on the Texans anyway. So, that was just the cherry on top. That really made me feel like, okay, this is just a lock at this point. And I'm going to go into the cherry on top for the Niners game and why the Packers could not have won that game. It would have been the worst thing for business, which we know the NFL, if anything, they care about business. But yeah, CJ got pounded to dust. They pounded his smithereens to smithereens, and you could just see it's one of those games where they treated him like Bryce Young. He really just was stifled, and obviously we know CJ's better than that, but we will take it any day of the week. Of course, Lamar gets exactly 100 rushing, so we got 150, 100. I swear they do this to mess up props. But anyway, this one came through very nice for us. I don't think many people had any doubt that it was going to be Ravens matching up with the Bills or Chiefs. And then Packers, Niners. This is another one where we love the Niners cover or the Packers cover and the Niners win. And for the Niners win, you can watch any video I've done this year. I've basically talked about the Niners winning. So many people told me they're too obvious, and I just disagree with that sentiment. We will have to see. We have one last week to get through. But yeah, we had them Ravens beginning of the year, so that's looking good. But more importantly, Love is being treated really well. I just thought about this today. I'm like, Rodgers leaves Green Bay, goes to New York, and what do? They're more successful without Rodgers, basically in the first year. And you can see he had that one costly interception. But exactly what we thought was going to happen happened. McCaffrey carried them to victory. The defense came through, and it really took a missed kick if you think about it, and a couple dropped interceptions, which they're going to talk about specifically on First Things First, probably. Brock Purdy had some dropped interceptions, didn't look that good. His players were getting, making things happen for him. So they basically won despite Purdy. Love did all right. He had his rookie mistake there at the end, but again, they kind of went tit for tat. It wasn't a deal where Purdy really outplayed Brock or Love. So this just makes perfect sense because, and I went into this a myriad of times throughout the year, how the NFC Championship is going to be very obvious, and the reason being, and now it's even more obvious because there's a really cool storyline with the winner of the Bucs and the Rams or the Bucs Lions. Sorry, I've again been all over the place today. I'm probably going to be just completely all over the place here, but anyway, the Bucs and Lions do have a very interesting commonality. And again, it was the reason when I saw this live. For one, there's no way they were going to give us Packers and Bucs or Packers and Lions in the NFC Championship. We can immediately eliminate Packers Lions because they played 2 weeks ago and they're not just boring teams. The Lions really aren't that boring, but when you throw the Packers, who they already played twice in there, it's not even as appealing as say like the Bills Dolphins might be pretty appealing for a third time. This wasn't one of them. Packers Lions not appealing. Packers Bucs maybe the worst NFC Championship of all time. So that made no sense. We were able to get the cover, like I said. And yeah, I think a lot of people are going to look at Purdy and say, you know what, I like the Bucs odds. I'm getting 8-1, 10-1, whatever they're getting. Baker versus Brock, I think he could beat him. Brock's not good enough. All these different things. They were showing McCaffrey, hurt on the sidelines. They were like they were like rubbing his knee. Debo's hurt, obviously. So they planted the seeds all through the year, and that's why I think it had to be Brock. So we did well. We got both of them. We got our Green Bay cover. We got our Ravens cover. And for anyone that is paying attention, you probably got the Niners live. So anyway, tomorrow's games, again, both very difficult to pick. As I said, I've been going from my place to my folks' place to the hospital, back and forth, back and forth. Then I'm trying to create some kind of excuse. But I do want to go live, and things are looking better. So, I'm going to be here anyway tomorrow. So, I figured Chiefs Bills would be a good time to do live. Today was just an impossibility. I had to file a lot of paperwork out. It was just a lot of back and forth. Like I said, things calmed down a little bit. Things are looking better. I had went into my last video. My stepfather was hospitalized and in the ICU, and now it's looking like he'll be out of there. So I appreciate the people that sent their well wishes. But anyway, I will be around tomorrow, and I thought Bills Chiefs would be a perfect game to go live for. So I'll put a post out for that. It might not be as long as usual, but at least if we can get even an hour and a half or something, just shooting the breeze and talking about theories. Anyway, without as far as tomorrow's games, Bucs Lions. So they both have great stories, and the reason I went into about how they've been planting these seeds for the Niners all year long. There's one thing that the Bucs and Lions do have in common. They both have bizarro Brock Purdy. And what do I mean by that? They both have a number one pick in the draft, which I find to be absolutely ludicrous. It's, in my opinion, all the proof you need that this league is scripted. We were a field goal away from getting Green Bay versus one of these teams where there's no story, there's no ratings, there's no draw. But, just by, again, all these fortuitous things that, again, they went our way. It's exactly what we wanted. But it just fell in line perfectly for the Niners, and then their defense steps up. All these things happen. They eke out the win, of course. And now we're getting first versus last. And you better believe, bet your Bippy, you can bet dollars to donuts, however you want to phrase it. They are going to mention this. We'll do the over-under, I'll say 6.5 times. That they mention, this must be a first. The first guy in the draft and the last guy in the draft. Something to that effect. Now the question comes down to what makes more sense. And I have to be honest, Baker would make more sense in that narrative because if you think of the first most desired pick and, just this badass number one pick, opposite Brock Purdy, you don't think of Jared Goff. You just don't. He's the guy, even though Baker's also been like a career backup type deal and just average guy. When you think of Baker, you think of him running around, running people over at Oklahoma. You think of the Heisman winner. I don't think people think of that when they think of Goff. I just think they think of like another average guy that's, I think of actually when I think of Goff, I think of Tannehill a little bit. I think of like Cousins a little bit, but I certainly don't think of number one pick opposite Brock Purdy. Baker does fit that mold. So for that regard, I think again, it's the only reason I really like the Bucs. All that being said, I don't think the Bucs are going to win. I think the Lions are going to win. The story is way too strong. You're still getting first versus last, and then you're still most probably getting Purdy versus the anti-Purdy, which would be honestly either Mahomes or Lamar. Obviously, I have Lamar. It could be Allen. You never know. But I think actually, well, I'll go into that in a minute. But as far as athleticism, as far as again, the team runs through Lamar, and I don't want to get ahead of myself, but this is just where my line of thinking's been for a while. The team runs through Lamar. Brock Purdy, he runs through the team. The other teams are like that in a way, but not quite like Lamar. And if you just match up these two guys, you have this goofball, and then you have Lamar Jackson. It's really funny, in my opinion, and it's one of the reasons I feel like that makes sense. And again, I feel like we could get a similar dynamic with Baker versus Purdy, but again, if the very next week he's going to be playing someone way better than Baker that basically has the same criterion checked off. So to me, it makes perfect sense that we get a Brock Purdy versus Lamar. That's what I like. And for this game, I like the Lions to win. The reason being, their story is way too big. The Texans had a nice story, but it was kind of cut short. The Browns, same deal. The Lions came into the season, and I went into this multiple times, and I said how the Vegas liked them more than they should have. The Lions were easily going to win the division. The Vikings were going to finish last. I think I got that one right. They might be tied for last, but that one was a hot take. But these playoff predictions we got pretty down pat as far as exactly how they're going to happen. You can watch my old playoff videos. The only real miss was I thought the Raiders might go deep in the AFC. That was like the only real hard miss. As far as everything else, we did a great job, and it's just looking where Vegas is at. And I don't think the Bucs are going to draw. The Lions is a draw. They haven't done this in like 70-something years, won 2 playoff games. And I don't think they've ever been to the NFC Championship, and I know they've never been to the Super Bowl, so you get them to the NFC Championship, and you have an amazing story, win or lose. The Nuggets just did it, so it does make a lot of sense. And, Barry Sanders came out a little bit this year. He was talking, so I just feel like the Bucs got that nice upset. They could get another one. They could be that team who just runs through like the Packers were supposed to. They got one but didn't get the next. The Texans got one, didn't get the next. The Bucs could be that one who gets the upset, gets the next upset. And Bucs Niners is fine, but I just prefer Lions as far as I think it makes more sense all around. I don't think Baker is that much of a draw. I know they're pushing him a lot this year, but again, they also are pushing the unified team. Dan Campbell, again, I don't think they're going to not let this man go to the NFC Championship and go up against the Niners. So, yeah, I like the Lions to win. And then it comes down to, again, the cover. In this case, I do like the favorite to cover. I think, we had the Packers covering, but the Niners winning. In this case, it'll probably be a pretty close game. But don't forget, the Lions are going to be matching up with the Niners. So I think you got to make them look pretty strong. I wouldn't be surprised if they put a beat down on Baker. Very, as you guys know, extreme quarterback. Either plays incredibly well or laughably bad. So it could be a laughably bad type game. They have the over-under set pretty high, so maybe he does all right. But at the end of the day, even though it's Goff, he's still the number one pick in the draft, which means we will get the number one pick versus the absolute last pick. And again, the over-under, I believe, is 6.5. You can let me know in the comments if you think they mention it over or under that amount of times. It's just something, you see these things coming from a mile away. And, yeah, it's just ridiculous. I'm curious as far as how much they go into these different narratives as far as, obviously you got first, last, but there's so many more stories to be told. And it's also funny because it's also like swapped, so it's like the first versus last as far as the quarterbacks and where they were drafted. But if you look at the team's success, the Niners are arguably the number one most successful dynasty of all time. I think only the Patriots have more. I'm not exactly a historian on the matter. I used to remember all those, but my point being, Niners, when you think of top teams ever, you think of the Niners. When you think of most laughably bad teams ever, you think of the Lions. So I could see them saying something like, oh, a cold day in hell, before we would think we would see the Lions playing the Niners. So, yeah, all around, I think Lions make sense for the cover and for the win, of course. Leaving the Chiefs, Bills, and, you know, again, this is another one. You never want to fade Mahomes, but it hasn't stopped me all year long. All year long, I explained that I didn't think the Chiefs were going to make the playoffs. So that narrative they were pushing with the Bills, I thought the Chiefs were going to get it, and they got in. They looked good in the first round, and to me, what would make sense is you boot them right out. This would be considered a complete letdown for the Chiefs. It would basically be the equivalent of what the Patriots did, just because it's the Chiefs, and you don't expect them to not barely make the playoffs, but make the playoffs because of a bad division. They were one of the few teams who was locked because of a bad division, which is unusual for that division. And then still, you get in and you get bumped by the Bills, who were struggling themselves. Now the Bills have been on a complete, rager, and that makes me wonder, are they doing that so the Bills look unstoppable, and the Chiefs don't look good at all, and Mahomes just has Allen's number again, the kryptonite. The Chiefs get it done. More money probably going to be on Buffalo. Maybe. Again, I think narratives reign supreme. I do like the Bills here. And again, I'm going to foolishly take them to cover because, again, it's just the odds. I mean, I know full well this could be a 2 or 3 point game. But at the end of the day, I do like the Bills to win. We might be looking at a push. But either way, I like the cover. I think the Bills-Ravens makes a lot of sense. And in my bracket video, this was before the playoffs started. If you want to, I can link it, but you can just check it if you want. It's in the Super Bowl playlist, Super Bowl Saga or something playlist. And I did my brackets. I did all my brackets. I went in all the teams. We didn't get the exact path right. It's like the path to the presidency. You might not get Ohio, but if you get the right swing states. And we basically had, we didn't have Dallas going too far anyway. We didn't have Philly going too far anyway. So my picks, and I'm just going to keep them the same because I see no reason to change them, is Lions, Niners on the one side, and Bills, Ravens on the other side. I do understand Chiefs, Ravens is always a draw. Pat Mahomes is always a draw. But just the fact that they've had a pretty weak year by their standards, to me it makes perfect sense that they would just drop off here and not not be able to win without a receiver really. And again, I am worried because the Bills have such a ridiculous winning streak, but that's why again I think it makes perfect sense you run it to the Super Bowl, or at least you run it to the NFC. You run it one more round. You run it as far as you can, like until you get to the Bills Ravens and the winners getting into the Super Bowl. So I also think Bills Ravens is a nice rematch. I think the Bills beat the Ravens a couple years ago in the playoffs. Lamar had a bad game. So Lamar versus Damar, I find that pretty interesting. But Lamar getting his whatever you want to call it, getting the comeuppance and getting his redemption makes sense. So I really like Bills Ravens. So yeah, I like the Bills to cover this game, and they'll be talking about the Chiefs forever. And again, it's hard. You can never say like, oh, the Chiefs, they're definitely out. The Chiefs are like, I don't know, Brock Lesnar. If he's around, he's always a threat. To win the belt or to just win in general. There's a few teams, and the Chiefs are definitely one of them. But the fact that Allen's never beaten Mahomes is already having a down season. To me, it makes perfect sense. If you're going to give Josh Allen any time, it's now. Otherwise, it seems like he's just getting the Trevor Lawrence treatment, which I don't think he's getting. I think he's a draw. I think they like Josh Allen. So to me, I think he wins this game. They probably recreate that 2020 most scripted miracle that probably opened so many people's eyes to the fact that this whole thing is scripted. I would imagine 10% of the sports watching populace at the same time opened their eyes at that moment when you had Mahomes flying down the field, then Allen flying down the field. They got overtime. It was insane. And then in the rematch a couple years later is when Romo predicts the score. So you're going to get some entertainment here. But at the end of the day, I like the Bills for the cover. I think they win. I think they cover. and Josh Allen moves on to the AFC Championship. So anyway, I know it took a little bit, but I wanted to cover that just because I was already going over the obviously the games we just did today, which again we did really good with. CJ really helped us out by just breaking one of the commandments of the NFL, and it just seemed like a split type day. So they gave Love his no pun intended love. He looked good, and now Purdy again. I don't think people are going to be too confident with him going into, in my opinion, against Detroit. So anyway, I joked about this. So here's all the Patreon picks for everyone that follows this. In my last video, I just because everything's been so hectic, I did them as one video, and I went in my very last video. I went into the fact that last Saturday we had like 39 units in play, and we profited like 1 unit, and it was just I was like, man, you can't do that if you try. Sometimes it was just like a complete break-even day. Last several days we were like +6, +12, +4. We're up I think we're +30 since I started this, which again I went into it multiple times, but the last Saturday when we had like the most units ever in play, we finished +1. So let's see how we finished today. We had again like 30 something units in play. We missed Arkansas Pine Bluff again, just played the metric, but they went over. We missed Kentucky, they did not go under, so that's -2. We got the Lamar under. We got the clip. It finished at 155, so that's always nice. So that's even. North Colorado we got, so that's +1. We missed Wofford. They did not go under. I think it was 141, so we were on the ass end of that clip. They got us on that one, so that puts us from +1 to -1. And then we go to -5. We missed this leg 3. Dartmouth did not go over. -6 because West Illinois did not go over. Back to -5 because East Illinois did go over. -1 because we got UC Riverside. I went into this in my last video. We've been banking, just fading Cal St. Norge in these trap type games. Cal St. Norge has paid us very well this year, and a lot of them have just been games that look like complete traps. They have much better records, great against the spread, but somehow they're underdogs. So it made no sense to me. Old Dominion did not cover, so -3. Detroit, I said that was fool's gold. I went for it. They were hanging for like 5 minutes, and then they just melted down. So -4. Idaho State did not cover, -5. South Mississippi did win, -4. And I know this might sound tedious, but this is the occasional. It's usually from other channels where people will come over and just say like the most nonsensical things, like, oh, you're not doing, winning that much or whatever. And I'm like, we put these picks out every single day. And if you watch the Patreon, obviously, then I cover them every single day. But yeah, I do that on purpose because I just want to make sure that every single play is accounted for. As far as every single night, people see where we're at. I think crap. Now I have to recount. I don't know if we're -4 or -2. I know we finished +2 though, so let's work it out from here. I think we're -4. I'm just gonna run through it real quick again, just because I want to make sure we're right. -2, even, +1, -1, -5, -6, -5, -1, -3, -4. Okay, -5, and -4. Okay, so this puts us at -6 because we missed the leg 2 there. -4 because we got 2 units back here with UTEP, and SEMO came through nice as a leg 3, evening us up. Missouri did not come through, back to -4. Ravens did come through, putting us at even, and we picked up 2 units on the day thanks to the Packers covering. So yeah, it's pretty crazy that many plays. Again, with the VIG, juice, we want to do better than break even. But again, we've been essentially all green days, and then sometimes we'll have like a small green day or a small red day, which is obviously going to happen. But anytime we can finish in the profit, I'll take it, even if it's small. And hopefully people caught the Niners live. But again, I only go by the exact picks that I posted ahead of time when I do this. So again, +2, nothing crazy, but again, always better than a negative. And combined with how we've done on the week, and just basically, again, since we started, we're up like 30 units. We've been doing really well. And I just wanted to cover tomorrow's picks. Like I said, I didn't forget. It just, I appreciate you bearing with me. I thought, it takes a while to upload, so if I can just get them out in the same video For everybody that's following on Patreon, here they are. We got Fairfield Manhattan going under 148.5. It's leg 2 for 2 units. I like the play. Fairfield's gone over a lot, like 80%. So public should be on the over. Stonehill, I love this because they suck against the spread, and Merrimack's great against the spread. And this is what I love about these days. So many people look at these games and they probably have no desire to play them. They pay by far the best. Like, we have done so well with college, not as much college football, but college basketball, just picking these metrics. Today we went three out of 5 on leg 3s. Yesterday we went 2 out of 2. The day before we went 2 out of 2. So, and just in general, we're doing well on leg 3s because I usually save them for their traps, where you have a really good team against the spread versus a really bad team against the spread. The public's obviously going to be leaning one way, so public should be all over Merrimack. I like Stonehill to cover. Siena and Marist, I like the over, just because Marist sucks on the over, just for a unit. Niagara, that's going to be leg 2. I like them and Mount St. Mary's to go under, because Niagara's up there with Fairfield, so that's 2 units. Rutgers, Illinois, just 1 unit. It is set pretty high for a team that doesn't go over too much, but Rutgers isn't like, defying history here. They're at like 30% on the over, which is a perfectly normal number, but I still like it considering it is set at 143. Lions, again, I went into this. I think it's a close one. I don't like these games tomorrow as much as today, but I still do like them nonetheless, especially because I feel like we've been way over the target with, again, we got first versus last either way, but, Lions, Niners, we had that before the playoffs. And we had Bills, Ravens before the playoffs. So, yeah, Lions cover. I got both favorites covering. Bills cover. And that'll be for 4 units. The Lions will be for 2 units. So, there's all the plays. I wanted to recap. Again, I type all this out. So, I appreciate everyone that's patient. I type them out. Update the win-loss column, all that stuff. And like to cover all of our plays for the next day. For anyone that isn't on the Patreon, that's what we do every single night. We post them ahead of time, and that way people can make sure, you can cross-reference whatever, add them all up, and obviously it's documented in our videos. So, yeah, I went over with Chris, who does, like, amazing charting. And he gives me, like, very specific breakdowns, like, oh, we're doing 40% on football here, we're up 30-something units on football. He's the one who brought to my attention we were doing so bad with hockey, I kicked it to the curb. We were down like 30-something, 40-something units with hockey. It was absolutely abysmal. You just can't get the matchups. You can't get the money line. You can't. There's no spread that's going to make it even. Hockey just sucks. It blows. But as far as the rest of the sports, we've been doing very well. But yeah, I always appreciate you, Chris. I think, like I said, we both verified with each other. Anyone that's been tailing since I started this is up about 30 units. And again, it's just really just trusting the numbers to bear out in the long run. You can see I'm not playing these exciting games and just dropping a load on them. Last year during the finals, and I don't want to keep ranting, but I just figured I'd go into something. So many people were like, the Heat lost. They went into, oh my gosh, you were so convinced the Heat were going to win. I dropped all this money on them, and I did terrible. All these different things. And for me, the Heat were like, yeah, they did lose in the finals. It wasn't fun, but anyone that tailed all the Heat picks actually profited because I used my system. So essentially, we picked the Heat for the first game. I think they lost, and then we did a leg 2 on the second game, and they won, and they were like plus 200. It's something like this. I don't remember exactly. I have it on my community post from around that time. But basically, we picked between getting the plus odds on the ones we won. We had of the what was it, 5 games? I think 5 games they played, or I think it was 6 games, whatever it was. We went like 2-4 or 2-3. We had more losses than wins, but actually profited just by doing the system. So anyone that picked the entire Nuggets Heat series actually profited. But so many people were like positive that, because I believed it, but it's the reason I use my system. Like, oh, the Heat are going to do it, and they're much more fun to watch. And then we just put all this money on them to win the finals, and that's why I never really deviate from the system. As much as, this Lions game is going to be fun, I trust this Stonehill metric more. Even if I'm not going to be able to watch it, I want to win money. So I just wanted to go into that aspect. I know most people that follow do understand that, but there are some people that, they just, I understand, you can't really resist the urge to want to drop the farm on this Bills Chiefs game. And to me, it's honestly, it is more fun to watch when there's money to be made. But since we're making money anyway, to me, there's just no point in like going nuts. Not telling people what to do or what not to do, but just from my experience, just a game's more fun, more entertaining. I still like these small market metric plays, but I still like the Bills. I still like the Bills to cover the Chiefs. It's still like 3 for 4 units, but I just wanted to bring it up because we're going into the Super Bowl soon, and as I love the Niners, this, just like I loved the Heat, and they went further than most people thought they would. We had them go into the finals over the Celtics. We called that one perfectly too. We actually called the Celtics to come back from 3-0 only to lose in Game 7. We called it back in like Game 2 or 3. And it was a very specific prediction, but it just seemed like something that would happen. And we talked about it like 3, 4 videos in a row, and then it actually happened. But my point all being, the urge to again just drop money on the Niners. I think the Niners are going to do it. The AFC side, I'm really liking the Ravens as I went into all year long. But as much as I like them, now I do have some in futures. From the beginning of the year, it was like I think 2,200 for those two teams to meet up, and the Niners were looking at like +5, +600. So both were good odds. So I liked that. But as far as just dropping like a crazy amount, like 20 units on the Niners because I have so much conviction in them, something that just goes against the system. As much as I believe in a game, I always try and keep it where I'm not chasing or putting absurd amounts down. So I didn't want to go on a little lecture there. I just wanted to really emphasize the reason we do well and the reason this system is doing well is because we're playing the boring games. We're playing the games that might not be the most fun. As you can see, there's no NBA tomorrow because nothing jumped out at me. But I went with the games that are going to historically, because some of these teams against the spread are just not going to finish where they're at, are going to be the higher paying games. So, sorry about that rant. It's just something I like to go into because, again, as much as we want to go into narratives, I like going into the money management aspect. So I figured I would touch on all that. So yeah, my next video is probably going to be live around 6 o'clock or so tomorrow, if that's cool with you guys. I'll post it online probably first thing tomorrow morning. I might do it tonight. And I appreciate everything. I appreciate you guys bearing with me. If I sound like a zombie, again, it's just a long couple days. But hoping to get some good sleep. It's always nice to have a good day. We did profit today. And in the NFL, we did really good, obviously. A nice, was it 6-unit profit in the NFL? Yeah, so, yeah, I feel like we have a good read. We kind of know what players they're punishing. I went into Rodgers already. That's pretty interesting what they're doing with Rodgers. And what players they're pushing. It seems like Lamar's got the push. And I think they're going to push Brock. Again, he looked like not great. So I could see people not loving the Niners at +200 with Brock Purdy. And I think that's what they want. So yeah, let me know what you think. Everyone that supports and all that, I always appreciate it. But let me know what you think about tomorrow's games. I know a lot of people had a lot of people agreed with like all of my picks but one. When I went into it like briefly a little bit ago, when I went into, it was a couple videos ago, I had Ravens and the Bills, the Niners and the Lions. When I picked those 4 teams, basically there'd be like most people had 3 of those 4, but they're like, but I think it's gonna be the Packers, or I like these 3, but I think it's gonna be the Texans, whatever it may be. I know a few people had the exact same ones as me, but my point being, if you agree, if you disagree, if you notice something I didn't cover, please let me know. Like I said, I'm probably missing a lot because this just feels like a big blur of a couple days. But I wanted to get this out, and I wanted to bring up the live. And I just appreciate you guys for all the patience. Just because, like I said, I wanted to get the videos out sooner, so I could have just gone into the NFL and then done the recap video. But Patreon takes a little bit to upload. My YouTube, because my phone's so screwed up, takes a while to upload. So I thought, well, I'll just upload them together. A lot of people that are on the Patreon watch, obviously, the YouTube channel and vice versa anyway. And it's a free trial thing, so you can always see if it works out for you. But, yeah, I wanted to go into today's games kind of extensively because it's going to have a big factor going forward. These seeds have been planted. I'm looking forward to first versus last more than Bills Chiefs even, just because I'm really gonna I want to see how often they push whoever wins this game, Lions Bucks. I just want to see how often they push Purdy versus the winner of that game. I think it'll be Goff, but that's going to be a story. Bills Chiefs is always great, and then we'll have even Bills Ravens or Chiefs Ravens will be great. I think it'll be Bills Ravens though. But yeah, let me know what you agree and disagree with. And as I always say, take care and happy earnings.